All right, take two after another attempt at a video ruined by a phone call. I gotta figure out how to make that not happen. Okay, so more art crit and lit crit, art criticism and lit criticism. There's also this weird shelf on top of oversized stuff. Gonna look at that real quick. But also, check it out. I gave Shakespeare his own shelf and moved all those paperbacks out here. So that opens up so much space on the paperback shelf for me to add more variety. It gives me a green light to buy like 40 more paperbacks. I moved all the Woodhouse out here too, P.G. Woodhouse. Books about him in homage to him. And yeah, Woodhouse is in some rarefied company here. But he's a pretty funny guy. Oh, yeah, so here's what the paperback case looks like now. I get to add 40 new books, kind of with this project in mind. So I can be like thinking about giving us sort of a broad picture. Because it'd be better when this is all over if people who watch this channel and if I don't just have some idiosyncratic new, collection of knowledge, that if it was kind of organized and complete in some way, complete's obviously impossible, but like drawing from many parts of the broader picture. But yeah, I took out 26 Shakespeare plays and gave them that shelf and 14 or 15 Woodhouse books. And there's some really good stuff here. Anyway, it's going to be awesome. This shelf's just going to be so amazing. By the end of this project, all the taped up and kind of shabbier books will be weeded out and replaced with better copies of themselves. I'm going to go to Don's bookstore here in Albuquerque, my favorite used bookstore here in town, and stock up. They've got great paperback sections with many genres. Quirky Books is a new one, pretty good. They've got a lot of good stuff. Their sections are a little chaotic, but I get it. The Book Stop, speaking of chaotic, haven't been there in a long time, but epic. Is Downtown Books still around? I feel like I didn't support that place enough, but they kept unusual hours. Maybe they're still around. Sometimes I would go there and they would be closed. Yeah, anyway, gotta have your local bookstores that you love. Page One, of course, is great. Bookworks is great if you live in Albuquerque. And I hope you have good bookstores in your area too. I also love a thrift store or an antique mall bookstore. Those are secret bookstores that are all over town. We also sometimes, in some areas, the more affluent areas, have a lot of little free libraries in Albuquerque. And sometimes those are dismal wastelands of things that make me question if I even like books. But sometimes they're pretty amazing. The books from that shelf. So we got this one on ancient Egypt. You gotta have stuff like this, This is the human history of all humans, Egypt's just incredible. Ancient Egypt. I mean, modern Egypt's probably pretty cool too, but ancient Egypt is like endlessly fascinating to me. It's just not a boring subject. It isn't. It's so interesting. What is this called? Ancient Egypt, Discovering Its Splendors. Looks like National Geographic symbol. Shelter. This is a really cool counterculture document from the 70s. And it's got pages on the Placitas communes of the 1970s from Placitas, New Mexico, near where I live. That's at the north end of the Sandia Mountains, east of Albuquerque. And it looks slightly water damaged. That's probably Dome Valley from Tawapa, or from Placitas, near Tawapa. There's so much cool stuff in here. There are quotes from people I know in here that are really far out. Kubrick's 2001 explains it all. Man. Which is true, but it's funny stuff. Yeah, they built stuff out of all kinds of just random materials. Placitas has, I've been right to where that was, and I know those people involved. The Placitas communes are fascinating. So are the Taos communes, which were the only ones that were bigger. And I recently stayed at the New Buffalo commune in Taos, and it was just incredible. Got to hear music being played in the central living room era. Dennis Hopper had been chilling back in the day. Okay, is that New Mexico? You gotta have maps and stuff. I also like to travel and write about New Mexico. I've had many road jobs, driving around the state. I used to drive a blind teacher all over the state. And New Mexico's cool. Fifth largest state. Geographica. Yeah, you gotta have things like this as a writer. You gotta have atlases, maps. CD-ROM. Anyway, Antarctica. I've always been drawn to Antarctica. But I'll go there eventually. Yeah, it's a nice book. It's helped me over the years. You definitely don't use reference books like you used to, you know? Like I had a big dictionary I used to use so much back in the day. And the internet just kind of makes that, you know, not necessary. I'll just look it up. Let's see. Okay, here's some more art and crit section. What do we got here? Hello. Oh, this looks cool. How the Robin Hood myth came about. Great books. My adventures with Homer, Rousseau, Wolfe, and other indestructible writers of the Western world. I like stuff like this. This was very popular for a moment. A memoir in books. I like that idea. Reading Lolita in Tehran. I really like this Iranian novel, My Uncle Napoleon. I bet this will be good. And of course, Persepolis is phone music. Yeah, this will be cool. Listen to someone's cultural experience of reading works from someplace where they're not. Like, I think that's so interesting how we reinvent writing in our own minds based on our own subjective experiences. New essays on the Great Gatsby. Sounds awesome. Memory, an anthology. Did I show this? Did this maybe get moved? I feel like we saw this on another shelf. Maybe it's a different one. Ironically, I don't remember. Rise and Fall of the Man of Letters. Study of the idiosyncratic and the humane in modern literature. Hey. Oh yeah, there's film crit in here too. Contemporary North American directors. Art crit, lit crit, film crit. Let's see who's in here. Yeah, that looks cool. Just flip through it. Okay. T.S. Eliot. I spent a long canoe trip with his book 4 Quarters, so I'm like, yeah, you're all right. You got some good stuff. This is such a good biography. We should all cultivate a really good friend who's a biographer who writes a flattering biography of us afterward. He takes everything from her life and makes it part of this mythic subtext of her story. And even like drinking all the time becomes some higher facet. It's a great book. It's a really good biography. And Marguerite Duras is one of a kind. She's a great writer. But I love the French New Wave. There's so many good writers from that movement. In literature and film. Pop, Rock, and Soul Reader. Man, this has some good stuff in it. This was for a 20th century American music class I took at UNM. But I read it, and it's fantastic. And there's the story of Long Tall Sally getting written in here, and it's like one of the most memorable pieces of music writing ever. About a kid walking across the country to tell these lyrics to Little Richard. What? Beethoven. Sometimes I think Beethoven's my favorite of the classical cats. He, I don't know. It's just so direct. Some of his symphonies are like his all-time favorite pieces of music for me. I got stuck on the first for a long time. Just walking around this icy Alaskan landscape, listening to that on headphones. This is, okay, I got this at a garage sale up in the mountains, and it's a bunch of little books about literature. Hold on. Let's see, it's all these different authors. And this one I put in there to maximize space for that little box. There's only one I haven't heard of. John P. Marquand. It's like some friend of the guy who put together the booklets. Or that is the guy that put together the booklets. No, it's probably someone famous I just haven't heard of. Pretty. You know, I'm really like a Norton Anthology fanboy. I really freaking love Norton Anthologies. They're great. Like, I don't know. They're always just like, they've got so much in them. I wanted to read all their world literature anthologies. I was acquiring them, but I don't have them all. This is one of the only anthologies I've ever read, like from cover to cover, and like not just like leafing through it. That's not true. I've read a few, but this one changed my whole approach to art for a little while. Totally just changed my life. It's full of all these really radical, wild poems that really embrace the written form, that kind of leave the oral tradition behind. And I read a library copy and then bought this one. It's incredible. And then in the back half, it's got like poetics where people talk about their thoughts on poetry, and that's fun conceptual stuff to think about. There's some really good things in here, and it'll make... I wrote a sort of postmodern poetry chapter after... Sorry, I didn't like that shadow that was thrown over this. Could turn some lights off. Anyway, highly recommended. Sometimes I just walk the aisles at the library, particularly in the nonfiction section, and I just read all the spines and see what there is, see if anything jumps out. That's what happened with this one time. And I'm so glad it did. That same day I got a biography on Rothko. It was amazing. And I got Irrational Judgments. That was a great library haul. Books that really affected me. I'll pretty much pick up any writer's biography. I'm definitely interested in writers. You know, they're like my kin. Like, we engage with the world similarly. The Woman, the Writer, and the Myth, Colette. I've never read her, but I know someone that was named after one of her novels. That's interesting. How do you not love a book that looks like that? Look at that. It's so plain. Love it. Good old paintings. Gotta have some art books in your house, in your life. Biography of Jack Kerouac. Kerouac was a big influence on me in my early life, and then I kind of outgrew him in a way, became critical of him, and I've since kind of gone back and thought, no, there's really important things that you do. You can't fake vitality. Benjamin Franklin said you can fake intelligence, but you can't fake wit. But like vitality is another thing. You either have it in your work, something vital and alive, or you don't. And Kerouac undeniably had that, and came through very strongly, and I respect that. And I respect him like being real with the world and being depressed about it and just thinking about it on paper, you know, and coming from an unconventional background, being a football player. I've made pilgrimages to Lowell and seen where he went to school and stuff. Music in the United States, the introduction, cool. Chekhov. I haven't read all that much Chekhov, but I have a ton of books about him. Interesting. What's up with that? I just know he's a goat. Well, that's a good place to stop. Look at these next time. I'm just doing this like larger survey and still reading the paperbacks. And before too long, we'll get to this. I'll start up the Dostoevsky Project again, read the biography and all his works in order. And Dostoevsky's awesome. After that, I'll work my way through these other authors too. Woodhouse, your last, sorry. So yeah, books and such. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Rock and roll.